Hi there, y'all. There have been rumors about a Chrono Trigger remake ever since I can first remember. I loved the game whenever it came out on the SNES, and then whenever they re-released it as part of Final Fantasy Chronicles on the PlayStation 1, rumors of a Chrono Trigger remake just opened up the floodgates. Then we had Chrono Cross come out, and people were like, oh, well then where's the real Chrono Trigger 2? Or what about a Chrono Trigger remake? Then there was that whole Chrono Break debacle that happened, and we have been waiting for a Chrono Trigger remake for quite a bit of time. But now that we're seeing some more classic RPG remakes, the Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered series, and the Dragon Quest HD 2Ds coming on into play, it looks like Square is really looking at Chrono Trigger now. This comes from Square Enix Yoshinori Kitase himself. He was the director of Chrono Trigger. Yeah, straight from the source here. He appeared on a podcast called My Perfect Console to chat mostly about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but a couple of other questions did pop up, and this is fascinating. It was Kitase himself, not the host of the podcast, but Kitase himself, who brought up the topic of Chrono Trigger, and he wanted to know what we, the fans, thought about it insofar as a remake. He asked the podcast host, this is Kitase talking, he asked the podcast host his thoughts on how Square Enix should tackle a Chrono Trigger remake should the opportunity arise. Yeah. He gave 3 different options. A straight port, that to me is boring. A straight port, we already have the game on the SNES, then we got a port onto the PlayStation, then we got a port on the DS with a little bit of extra content. Not that the content is good or anything, but it is there. Or they could do a graphical remaster, like they've been doing with HD 2D or whatever, or they could do a grandiose sort of Final Fantasy VII remake project. Now, the host of this podcast, Simon Parkins, said personally he'd like to see something along the lines of what Nintendo did with Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch, and Kitase responded by thanking him for his comments. So that's all we really know about it, but this is my take on this whole thing. Number one, why would he even bring it up in the first place? You know what I mean? Why would he even bring this up unless there was something going on in his head? He knows that remakes are big business and that it's easy money. But my other thing that I want to talk about is, can we get none of the above? Can we not get a straight port? Can we not get an HD 2D style? And can we not get the grandiose 20-year remake project that's going to split it up into 6 different parts based on the different time periods? Here's a game for present day. Here's a game for medieval. Here's a game for future. Oh my god, I would die. Instead, why don't we get something in the middle? Why don't we get something like maybe the Dragon Quest XI graphical style? Or, even better, Chrono Trigger in its own style. We just got a recent Star Ocean 2 remake that it said it was HD 2D, but it wasn't really. It was its own separate style. It was its own separate thing, and I like that. And Chrono Trigger, it always marched by the beat of its own drum. It didn't copy any other game's style. It didn't copy Dragon Quest style or Final Fantasy style at the time. It created its own style. So why can't the remake also have its own style? That's really where I'm going. And now I want to say, what would I like to see in this remake? Because what I don't want, again, is just a straight up port. I've played the SNES version more times than I can count. I don't need a straight port. I'm good. What I would like would be some added bonus content, some added changes as well. I'm talking about some new side quests, maybe some new areas to explore, fully fleshing out some of the smaller areas, especially 65,000 BC. I know that it's prehistoric, and I know that there's not a lot of people around and all that, but let us have more than one village and 2 dungeons. Give us something there. Give us something to really explore there. And also, Alia, she was the only character who really didn't get a true endgame side quest. It would be a perfect opportunity to put something in there and give her a true side quest. Now, if you know anything about Chrono Trigger, there is something on the cutting room floor that was left out of the original game. And I think that the only thing that's still in the code of the game is something called Singing Mountain, which was going to be a dungeon in 65 million BC. I keep on saying 65,000, whatever. 65 million BC. And that probably would have been her side quest dungeon, but it was cut out of the main game, unfortunately. So this would be a perfect time to add that dungeon back into it. Also, maybe some more like bonding events. Like, I remember in the Secret of Mana remake that we got recently, there were these inn scenes, and you would go to the inn, and then your characters, like, talk to one another or whatever, and I thought that was such a cool little touch. Why can't we have something like that in Chrono Trigger? Some sort of little bonding events, or even maybe a private action. If you walk into town and you're at a shop or something, maybe you see Marl trying on clothes or going shopping or something, and you could talk with her. I would like that. Something to really give us more character interaction, because the characters in Chrono Trigger are so memorable, so timeless, so lovable. So it would be great to get a little bit more background information on them. Another thing I would like to see would be another party member. There was a huge rumor going around a long time ago that Balthazar was supposed to join the party because he was, like, you know, going to be like the next slot or whatever, but he didn't, and it is what it is. But you know who I would love to see join the party? Scala. I think that would just be amazing. Have her somehow join the party, maybe after the Ice Age area, or not to spoil anything, but, you know, just later on in the game, have her join up with the party. And speaking of party members, there is one in particular that really needs, like, a rebalancing, and that's crusty-ass Marl. She needs some help. Her healing, she's supposed to be the best healer in the game, but her healing is all single target. The other healers can multi-target their healing. She has no status ailment curing, even though Alia, of all people, has status ailment healing. So, like, maybe instead of giving her cure, give that cure to Frog and give Marl the heal spell. I think that would be good. Because having aura and cure, they're very redundant right there. Another thing is, her provoke ability is completely useless. Instead, I would like to see her given the charm ability from Alia. That would allow access to stealing a lot earlier in the game, and I just think it would be a really good idea and something to just kind of switch things up just a little bit, and make her just a little bit more useful. And then the final thing that I just think would be fantastic would be a post-game portion where you can explore the entire world and explore the 1999 era and even the future 2300 AD after Lavos has been destroyed. So you would actually get to see 1900, you know, before Lavos destroyed it, and you can go to all those really cool cities and everything that you saw, and then you can go into the future, and you get to see the future not wrecked up and not destroyed. I'd love to see some sort of post-game additions, maybe have another side quest with Marl and her father, with them bonding or something, maybe with Luca and her mother, now that she is no longer disabled. You know, there's all sorts of different things that they could do. Maybe have something with Frog, who's now turned into Glenn, he's human form. You know, there's so many things that they could do in some sort of post-game. And I would love, love, love to see what they could come up with. Don't just do a straight port. Don't just say, oh, this is graphical HD 2D, but it's still kind of a straight port. And also don't spend 20 years on it. Like, come on. Make it its own thing. Let it stand on its own 2 feet with its own graphical style. If you have to do something different, make it cell shading, like Dragon Quest XI, and also add in some extra content. That's what I'd love to see in a Chrono Trigger remake. Let me know what you would like to see as well. And as always, have a good day.